What is up? It's your boy Johnny Shreve, IFBB Pro, Mr. Telek. It is. Welcome back to another episode of Coaching Up. Today, guys, we're watching Sam Sulek, and he has changed his ways. Training chest with Jay. Looks like the old school's meeting with the new school. The new school's taking some old school advice and applying it to his new school self and seeing that there's better ways to train. In his video, guys, Sam Sulek's actually admitting the fact that he has changed some of his ways to optimize his training, and he actually has, which is amazing. So, guys, I'm gonna go through this video, close some really good points for you guys to really nail home, and I'm gonna show you guys some tips and cues to be able to have a better overall muscle-mind connection, because that is going to be the name of the game in this video. So let's get right into it.
I said I wanted to always train with Sam, but I'm not a guy that would ever ask. I mean, is that weird that I said I want to train with you? Or
I think it's probably mutual.
Hey guys, low key, I'm not jealous, envious. Could you imagine Sam Sulek just like, sitting back one day like, I'm gonna go and do a workout video. I'm gonna record a workout video on Summer Shredder, I don't know, whatever ones he does. And then he blinks and 2 years later he's got 3 million plus subscribers and Jay Cutler's being like, man, I've always wanted to train with you. What? Low key jealous and envious at the same time, but in a positive way. Not like hate away like, oh, Jay Cutler can't believe he's want to train with that kid. Why not me? No. That's like a good for you, Sam. That's what happens when you stay in your lane and do your thing and you have greats like Jay. Look at the way Jay's looking at him. Look at the way Jay Cutler is looking up at Sam Sulek. Sam's like, the feeling is mutual. Of course it's mutual. Sam, damn Sam I am.
And the one thing I always try to preach is like, it's not always about the weight. And I think I told you that, even about your body weight, right? So it's about really just, getting the feel of the movements, mind to muscle connection. I know it's harder for some of the new guys to understand that, but like you said, you learn.
To make things very easy to understand, a muscle-mind connection is basically being under complete control of your environment. Meaning, when you're training the muscle, in this case chest, you are feeling the muscle that you're using. You know why and how you're feeling the muscle that you're using, and you can see it too. It's a practice thing. It's not something that you just wake up one day and all of a sudden, I get a muscle-mind connection. To be honest, guys, muscle-mind connection came to me in a different way. I've always had a good mind and muscle connection from the get-go. I was at gym as a kid and I had a coach right from the start. Muscle mind connection became even more for me almost 20 something years later, because when I was going through dialectical behavioral therapy, group therapy, we did these body scans. They're practices to help us understand how to be in the moment, being present. And when we're doing these body scans, it clicked to me. I'm like, holy, like being in the moment, I'm like being mindful. That's just the mind and muscle connection. It's something I always do in the gym. And for me, it clicked in a way that it helped me be even more present, because when I was in the gym, that's the only time I was present. When I was in the gym and training, muscle mind connection was my thing. It's still my thing. But then I was able to take that tool and apply it to my life outside of the gym. And that made my muscle mind connection that much greater and stronger. And that's something that you have to keep striving for, guys. Everyone's on their individual fitness journey. So no matter what science says, no matter what this person says, no matter what I say, when it comes down to it, yes, there's some rules you have to abide by in terms of like having pretty good, decent form, enough to make sure that we're, keeping ourselves at low risk of injury. But when it comes down to it, your fitness journey is something you're doing for the rest of your life. And that's something you have to really nail home. This isn't just a goal to get to, you gain 10 pounds of muscle and that's it. It's like, no, you gain that 10 pounds of muscle or you lose that 10, 15, 20, whatever pounds of fat, and you continue to go. You continue to strive to be better and better and better, because working out, resistance training, cardio, and good nutrition is going to be a thing that keeps you around as long as possible. You don't got to get motivated to brush your teeth. You just brush your teeth because you don't want stinky ass breath, gingivitis, rotten gums, falling out teeth. And when it comes to mind and muscle connection, it's something you'll be practicing over and over and over again. It's not going to be just something overnight you figure out. It's going to be something that's going to click after you do rep after rep after rep. Thinking about that, thinking about the mind and muscle connection, thinking about the movements you're doing, thinking about the muscles you're trying to contract, and then eventually it clicks.
What kind of jumps do you go?
I start with 2 plates and then I'll go to 3, and that's about my limit, but you tell me what you're going to go. But I usually warm up with 2.
Yeah, that's about
right.
That's about right.
We can use a scientific way and calculation on how to warm up and the best way to warm up, but the way to warm up is going to be the best way for you. And the best way I can say to warm up is basically using that warm up as a dress rehearsal for what you intend to do in terms of your hard sets. So take the time you need to build up. Don't waste any time in terms of like adding weight you don't need to add or doing extra reps you need to do. Go through the range, go through the reps. For me, I like doing things fairly slow. I like doing the exact same reps I'm gonna do when I'm doing my hard sets, and I'm just like going through the motion in that way, and I'm contracting the muscle while I'm going through the motion. So when I start my actual hard sets, I'm not fatigued, but I'm very warm. I'm gonna show you some things that I like doing that have worked with my clients. Again, when I reference a lot of things, it's not just based on what I like to do, it's based on what I've been doing for over 20 years with clients. I'm a very busy coach in terms of that's my thing. I'm a one-man show coach. I don't have a team with me. I've been coaching people for years. So what I've been able to apply to other people and what I see that actually works based on a variety of different people, from your teenagers to your 7-year-olds, from your trained athletes to your untrained athletes to your professional athletes to your bodybuilders to your general population. I've been able to see what works on those people and then gathering some good tips and cues for you guys. I show it to you guys.
Oh, yep, there you go. Contraction. Boom. How's that feel? Good?
Ooh, yep. I haven't watched Sam in a bit, but I remember watching Sam back in the day. Back in the day being like maybe like 6 months ago. Regardless, and the guy was just like, "Gah, gah, gah, gah." But the guy's been around a bunch of bodybuilders who have obviously been helping him out. He's admitting to hearing things from the audience. And look at his sets now. Complete control, right? We're doing the full range of motion. We have control of the rep, guys. Great. Now, when it comes to actually setting the actual machine up, if you have this machine, I'm gonna show you guys how to make the best out of a machine like this right now. So let's get to the lab and let's go over some vertical chest pressing techniques. And we show you guys how to make sure we get the most of our muscle mind connection from floor to core, creating good leverage. Let's get in there right now. First of all, really good videos to start, and Sam's making some really good adjustments in terms of like how he's actually approaching his training. So I think he did a good job, and he's starting to change his mind and how he's slowing his reps down and whatnot. But when it comes to this machine, I want to show you guys how to get leverage. Now, when I'm talking about leverage basically means being able to get yourself behind something enough to give power. So like put it for instance, if you're gonna push a heavy object, let's just say you're pushing a piano upstairs, which I hope you're never doing that. You're not gonna push the piano from the top of the piano like this. You're probably gonna get under as far underneath it as you possibly can and then use leverage to push it up. Similar to this, when we're in a bench, especially when it comes to like this kind of machine or like really any bench, we wanna position ourselves from floor to core to be able to give ourselves leverage to be able to get really behind the bench or behind these handles to push. So first off, when I say floor to core, setting this thing up, let's make sure that the handles are close by like nipple height line or a little bit above, because it's gonna be pushing up, right? And we don't want it too far up, we don't want it too far down. We don't want our body being here, then having to do this, and we don't wanna have our arms too high up like here, pushing up here. So you wanna get our arms right behind it, and then again, when I'm talking about, stacking the joints, fist, wrist, and elbow is gonna be behind the angle of here the entire time. We don't want it too low like this, and we want it too high like this. Now, creating leverage. Floor to core. What I mean by that is, when we played football back in the day, blocking was getting underneath here and being able to push in this direction to push here. If we decided to be high like this and push like this, we're getting pushed back. And you sometimes see that when you see people actually pressing. They do this instead of getting underneath here and pushing here. My feet, when I'm pressing from the ground, from floor to core, my feet are gonna be here. I'm gonna push into the floor, almost like I'm trying to slide my feet this way, but pushing my butt in the back of the bench. Now from here, I'm getting my chest up. That's gonna sink my hips a little more. Now from here, my hands are on the handles, my chest is up, and I'm pushing myself backwards, right? Not pushing myself off. I'm doing this motion almost when I'm pushing, but I'm keeping that leverage the entire time. So when I'm pressing, there's constant tension from my legs pushing myself to the back. It's almost like if I was doing a wall sit. If I was doing a wall sit, I'd be sitting here pressing slightly from here, from my legs, creating leverage. So when the weight's coming down, my chest stays up, I can feel some of that, of the eccentric load or the negative, really being controlled from my legs, from floor to core, all the way up and through. So when you're controlling the weight on the way down, we're here, and then we're pressing. Controlling the weight down, and then we're pressing, right? That's creating leverage when we're doing pressing exercise. So next time you're doing a vertical chest press, a incline chest press, think about getting behind the weight and pushing yourself back and not pushing the weight off your chest. You're gonna find yourself having a lot much more control with the eccentric load, the negative, and then not much more power with the positive. Passively training is passive aggressive. Hypertrophy is passive aggressive. Strength is aggressive. Yoga is passive. All right, guys, so hope that gives you guys a better insight of, you know, how to create leverage and getting really behind the weight to create the most amount of leverage and control and power behind these sets. When it comes down to it, it's not really about them coaching. They're just sharing their journey with you. They're not coaches. Jay's saying what works for him, Sam's saying what works for him, and for you guys, it's gonna be what works for you. My job is to give you guys some of those basic piano notes, and those basic piano notes in training, just like basic form. Let's get ourselves a good foundation before we start, and then however it feels for you, that's what matters the most.
Hey, you doing a single arm or you're gonna do both?
I was thinking both.
Huh?
Yeah, both arms, yeah.
Both, right? You want to go low, you want to go high?
Maybe
What do you like?
maybe do a 17.
Is that all, you see the 17 or?
These guys look like they've been training their entire lives together. They're like lost souls. Like, you know what I mean? Like in another lifetime, if Jay was like, you know, Sam's age, they'd be best friends, and then like vice versa. That's what it looks like. That's how you can tell that they were, you know, they're clicking. Nothing seems awkward. Nothing seems put on. It's two dudes that love training, that are trained together. This is what I love about training, about body. This is what I do. The other stuff is nonsense. It's a waste. This is the shit that I like. Two people that love training, that have a passion for training, and they're trained together, and they're just doing a chest workout. No one's trying to sell anything. No one's trying to, you know, to try and push any kind of bias or study or whatever it is. That's the kind of shit I like. I'm old school, man. I'm 41.
You know what's crazy is that, you know, when I do videos and I talk about the movements, sometimes it's hard for me to explain because I think we talked about this. You just do it, right? So it's sometimes you don't think about it because this is the way you learned.
But there's a reason for that, guys. Here's the most obvious reason why. He's not a coach. He's not trying to be a coach. He's just a athlete, a bodybuilder who's successful, that when he's training, he's like, hey man, this is what I do, and that's it. And that's the best thing you get out of it because, again, when it comes for me, the reason why I'm good at it is because I'm thinking about it all the time. Plus, I'm training clients all the time. Years and years and years of training people in person, trying to get them how to understand how to do a cable fly or a pec deck or a dumbbell press, or just going through the proper progression for a beginner, teaching them how to do a push-up first, having enough body control to do a push-up, and then putting them onto a machine so they can, you know, get a little stronger, then taking them from machine then to like a barbell where there's like, you know, it's a free weight machine. It's a free weight now, but you know, it's a bar, so I have to worry about like too much. Then from a bar to dumbbells, right? Those progressions I've done over and over and over again with people. So for me, it's like, it's something I've been doing. But for Jay, immediately, so it's like, he's like, I'm basically like, yo, I kind of know what I'm doing, but like, I'm doing it for me. I'm in the zone. I'm thinking about the muscle-mind connection for me, and that's it. But I don't know if I can say that this is the way you do it for you. And that's what you need when it comes to this industry, is that kind of honesty. Instead of Jay trying to act like he's a coach and be like, hey, this is the way you gotta do it, and then he's telling you guys to tuck his chin. He's saying all the things that need to be said by people in this industry so people aren't getting confused all the time.
Maybe we did check. We did shoulders, I think, actually. Good. Stretch. Good. Yep. So your whole focus is shoulders, you know, keep the shoulders out of it. So keep that chest high and forward, and that's what you're doing, bro.
When you're hearing Jay say keep your chest up, that's a basic thing, which is good. Everyone who's trained, who knows what they're doing in terms of like how to feel the muscle, is gonna say keep your chest up, keep your shoulders out of it, right? Now, I'm gonna show you guys how to do just that. Now, when it comes to it, again, a couple things I wanna make sure that when we do this is the goal for a fly isn't to just get the hands together. It's to make sure that this bone finishes here. This whole entire chest muscle is pulling this bone, just this part, from here to here. That's what it's doing. So when you're doing a set, you wanna go from here and then finish to here. If we're finishing here, we're not getting the fullness we can out of it, right? It doesn't make much of a difference. Well, look at him, look at Jay, look at Sam. They're not doing it. They had to develop chest. That's great. But for you guys that are just watching, get down this movement first and then go from there. Get used to doing the full range of motion, feel the full contraction to here. And then when you get to a point where, hey, you want to just kind of, you know, mix things up a bit, that's completely fine, but learn how to do the basic movement first. So guys, let's head over to the lab and go over some cable chest flies. So when we are setting up with the cables, again, we want leverage because, again, being behind this way, yeah, we have some strength to pull in, but we don't have in terms of like leverage of really like, if we want to load this thing, it's gonna be hard to load it because we're too far behind, and we want to put the most of our body weight in front of it, right? So leverage for us when it comes to the cables is gonna be getting ourselves in front. Now, a couple of things I see mistakes happen all the time is when people start this, they'll just walk out like this, and then they'll be here, and then I call it like tight roping. One leg's behind the other, and they end up doing this. The hips are doing this kind of stuff, or they're like this, and their body's like, oh, so the hips are pointing this way, and then the hips pointing this way, and they're trying to do it, and they're like this. We want to make sure that we stay like level and linear. Athletic position, and then pull the weight in. Then you're gonna take a step out, not in front, but whatever leg you want, pressing almost like you're doing a lunge and stepping in front here. Then that gives me more balance from here than having my feet like this. Now you can put the foot down like this, but I like having it up slightly. Now we want to push yourself out from here. I want to make sure my hands and the angle of the cable match, because if I have the cables up here, it's going to pull my arms up. If the head cable is too far down, it's going to pull me too far down. If I want this to pull me back exactly the way I want my arms to go back, I want the cables to match the angle of my arm, keep my chest up, opening up, and then from here getting behind the weight, and then pressing forward. Pulling back, chest up, and pressing forward. Now, again too, I want to make sure my elbows aren't underneath. This happens all the time. Let me get this. I want my elbows to be the side, opening up, chest up, shoulders still down, and then pressing. Opening up, you can see how much of a stretch I'm getting still. You don't need a long stretch. Basically coming back, 1 second, drive. Coming back, open the chest up, 1 second, and drive. And that's how we keep leverage and balance from floor to core, as well as keeping the tension on the chest without it pulling us up and down, depending on where the cables are. Keep the cables aligned and the angle of your arm. If your arms are this way, your body posture is this way. If it's this way, your body posture is this way. And then the cables will be on the same plane as they go all the way down. Take those tips and cues in terms of leverage from floor to core. When it comes down to a muscle-mind connection, we want to be grounded from the get-go. If we have just like having a good base foundation of form, you want to have a good base foundation of your actual exercise itself. And that starts from the ground, from floor to core to fingertips. Let's move on to the next exercise.
Oh yeah, that's something.
So you're going to get a lot of the upper chest on this.
Yes, I might.
Jay's doing more of like a neutral grip, and Sam was doing more of your traditional pressing grip, right? Are they both going to work the chest the same? Pretty much. But again, you're probably hit a lot more higher chest and anterior delt having your hands in like this, right? He probably feels the chest more on this because of the grip that he's using coming up, and then you're obviously squeezing in more. The other one, you're just finishing here and not really squeezing in. So the sensation that Jay's feeling is I'm feeling more of the upper chest even more because the machine literally goes from here. It's emulating almost like a dumbbell, right? So you'll probably feel the squeeze a bit better up here. When it comes to essentially loading the chest on both machines, you're hitting the same area. Those are what I call intentional reps, meaning he's completely aware of what he's doing. He's not reacting to the muscle, he's not just dropping the weight. He's under complete control when he's doing his reps. And he can because he's been doing this for years. But for you guys, don't try to copy Jay. Jay's got decades of training under him. If you try and be like, I'm gonna do Jay Cutler's reps, because that's the way Jay Cutler feels it, Jay Cutler has a different body than you do. Jay Cutler has different motivations than you do. Jay Cutler has different everything than you do. Get to the basics first, and then add things after.
Now, fast forward a few months when instead of 150 grams of carbs a day, I mean like 800.
Is that an average, usually 800 carbs?
Well, that'd be like get deep into a bulk.
When it comes to bulking, if you want to get fat, if you want to eventually get fatter and fatter and fatter, bulk. You do not need to bulk to put on muscle. You can stay at a good healthy body fat. You can put on muscle at 50% body fat. If you're 15% body fat, you do not need to add more body fat. When it comes to a actual surplus, a surplus isn't just you're eating more food. A surplus means that you're eating enough food that your body fat goes up. Your body fat increases. Your surplus is that. Your maintenance is your body fat staying the same. Maintenance doesn't mean your weight staying the same. Maintenance means your body fat stays the same. We don't have to keep on putting on fat and fat and fat because the rate of fat gain is way faster than the rate of muscle gain. And especially if you're natural, you're maybe putting on a pound of muscle in a month and a half. If it takes 2,500 calories to put on 1 pound of muscle, but it's gonna take you probably a month and a half to put on that pound of muscle, you gotta think like, let's just divide 2,500 calories over a month and a half. You're gonna be in some kind of like, say a surplus of like 10 calories. There's no need to be in a massive surplus to try to put on muscle. Stay at your body fat that you're at, because I'm guaranteed most of you guys are probably sitting around 15% or higher, and you can gain muscle there. Those who are a little higher than that, then let's try and lose some fat by maybe doing a little more exercise, more cardio, or actually getting in a deficit. But even being in a deficit, you can still gain muscle being in a deficit. Why? Because your body fat is in a surplus, your nutrition is in a deficit. And until those things kind of match up and it's too low, you're not gonna build that much muscle. Again, when I'm talking too low, I'm meaning like single digit body fat plus not enough nutrients to actually build muscle. So don't go in these crazy bulks. You're just gonna put on fat, and every time you do it bulk and cut, and bulk and cut, you end up getting fatter and fatter and fatter. Don't do useless, dirty bulks or bulks. Even if you're gonna add a surplus in terms of calories, it's like 100 to 250 calories a day. Watch your body fat, watch your conditioning. If your weight doesn't move anywhere and you're not losing any conditioning, that's fine. Then maybe add a couple, add another 100 calories. Don't just add a bunch of calories. The difference between this exercise and the last one is a couple things, right? The way you're sitting up, when you're doing a vertical chest press, you have leverage like I showed you in the last video. Now, when it comes to this one, when you're almost kind of like, I would say on your back, let me show you guys how to really get the most you can out of a machine like this. Let's go to the lab. When it comes to leverage, again, I like the idea of, again, remember, pushing yourself back. But when we're on our back, I like to have that analogy of pushing myself into the floor, right? So I'm not lifting the weight off my chest. I always like to say this, pretend that these handles, they don't push up. Pretend that these handles and the bottom, the base, pushes down. That's going to give us that much more leverage and stability on the back of this bench. We want to work with leverage, we want to work with the ground, work with the bench, and not against it. This is going to give us all the stability we need if we put our body in position. And that's what muscle-mind connection is. It's making sure that that pie chart we're talking about, that the muscles that aren't the ones targeted, they're just there to assist the targeted muscle, so that targeted muscle gets the most out of exercise and not the other way around. So whether you're using something like this and you're pushing down, or your feet are on the ground, I like having my feet on the ground. So pushing this up here, again, my feet are gonna be on the ground. Now from here, from a hip standpoint, I'm gonna pretend that I'm at the top of a glute bridge. So if I was on a glute bridge machine, I'd be like this, but I'm not necessarily gonna be all the way up. What I wanna do is I wanna create that leverage again and tension from floor to core, is I'm gonna push my feet into the ground and just slightly enough that I'm gonna feel my glutes on a little bit. I don't want it pushing all the way up, but just enough where I can feel myself pushing, because here's what's gonna happen. We have weight coming down from the machine pushing us this way. If our legs aren't active here, we're just kind of getting stuck in here, right? And we lose that leverage when it comes to being able to press the weight up and controlling it down. So what I wanna do is, I wanna create that tension from here, so when I'm pushing, you can see when I'm pushing here, instead of me going up, that pressure is going through my hands. And then we keep that tension the entire time. So if you see my legs, I'm pressing slightly. You can see how my butt raises up a bit. It's actually not off. It's actually almost like my glutes are squeezing the bench. Literally, it feels like they're like kind of like gripping this guy at the bottom here. It's like I got hands on my ass and it's holding the bench. I'm pressing from the ground here. I can feel my glutes on. They're kind of like putting pressure on the bottom of this bench from here. When I'm pressing the weight, my chest is gonna be nice and tall, pushing myself into the ground. And on the way down, I'm gonna feel the leverage and the weight coming into my hands and actually through to the feet, to my feet as well too. So when I'm pressing, I have control right from the floor to core, right into my hands. And if I was gonna say it all at once, it'd be floor to glutes, to core, to my shoulder blades, and then right to from my elbows through the palms of my hands, pressing up and controlling it down. And then when you're doing this, I'm thinking as well as I'm doing an inverted row. I'm pulling the weight down to me while my chest stays high, and then I'm pressing my feet into the floor even more, and then driving up. And still, again, stacking the joints, making sure my wrist, fists, and elbows stay underneath the handles the entire time. Again, think about being on your back. You push yourself into the ground, not the cables or the weight or the bar or the dumbbells off your chest. You're pushing back and down like this. Hope that makes more sense to you guys. This one of my favorite analogies is pretend when you're on your back that you're trying to push yourself into the ground. When you're sitting upright, you're trying to push yourself backwards. That's going to give you more leverage, more control, and more power. And then again, from floor to core, we have a lot more control with a negative on the way down, instead of just having the weight just fall back and you trying to catch it and drive it back up.
Keep my head up, right? And squeeze that chest.
I'm not so concerned about a little bit of shoulder hunching on something this declined, because your front delts just don't get much activation at all. Like they're working to raise your arms upward.
I get what he's saying, because again, like when he's talking about being in a position like this, he's not worried about his shoulders really getting into his front delts. But when it comes to like his arms raising up, it's definitely not his front delts at all. Sam's a good cat. He's training, he's doing his best. When we're talking about like, you know, basic anatomy and whatnot, take it with a grain of salt here. Not a jab on him, just like when it comes to coaching, he's not a coach. He's just trying to give you experience. I'm a coach. When it comes down to it, what's raising the arm up is that machine actually just push you back into the right position. And if you are actively trying to raise it up, it's your lateral head of your delts. This entire workout is 2 exercises. If you look at it, they only did 2 exercises that hit the entire chest. They hit incline vertical press with the hammer strength. Then they did a decline or cables from high to low cable flies. Then they went and did another another incline pressing machine, which is a little more, I would say, horizontal. And then they finish it off with another decline exercise. 2 exercises. You look at it, and they've hit the entire chest. Guys, when you come down to it, this is a very basic workout that does a lot, right? We don't have to be elaborate when it comes to chest. We don't have to think so much when it comes down to it. All we have to do is understand your basic fundamentals in terms of form and techniques to do said exercise, being intentional, meaning you know what you're trying to do and you're achieving that, and then keep intensity high and under control. And that's what's gonna help you guys grow over and over and over, but also gonna bring you closer and closer to a better overall muscle-mind connection. And again, when it comes down to it, the biggest thing in this entire workout is they chose the exercise that they like to do. And that's what you guys need to understand. Doesn't matter how many studies are out there, doesn't matter what I say, doesn't matter what anyone says, it's gonna take you guys going to the gym, basically using the machines, using the dumbbells, using all of it, and then finding out what feels good for you with said exercise. For me, I have my go-to, I call them go-tos. I have go-to exercises for every one of my muscle groups. And when I go to the gym, I'm going to those go-to exercises. I'm not gonna do something that's gonna put me in a bad position. I want to enjoy my workouts as long as I'm making them efficient. Anyway, guys, if you're looking up to level up your fitness journey at the beginning of your fitness journey, or you've already made some great progress, but now you're stuck, you know how to make it sustainable or you can go any further, guys, hit the link in the description below, johnishufitness.com. Jump on a 50-minute video call with me. We go over your fitness goals and see what we can both achieve together. Anyway, guys, until next time, you know how it is. Iron sharpens iron, progressive overload your life. In the meantime, keep dream chasing. Peace.